Hello and welcome to Mead Gaming's Hobby Hall, and today I'm alone, so flying solo today, so come and join me for some more painting of some more Night Lords and getting our way through army number 6 and hopefully an army that will be featured on our YouTube channel in the near future. So one thing that I'm going to sort of state going forward is that over the next couple of days I've got a couple backlogs of Hobby Hall episodes that have been recorded that need to go live onto YouTube, so if you've missed any of those, they are on their way very shortly, and potentially you may be even watching this in the future and they'll have already come out, so there'll be a random spree of episodes that will be coming out in the next couple of days. Basically just a bit of a backlog as I'm trying to reschedule for some changes that have been going on, including obviously my nice new streaming setup as well. And I can also announce that a new podcast episode with a new setup is also being produced this week, so hopefully that will hit your YouTube channel stream. What's it called? I don't know. It'll be part of your notifications, fingers crossed, very soon. So we are getting back onto a new regularly scheduled set of content, and we are going to be moving very much into the Legions space in those podcasts as well, so keep an eye out for all of that. But without further rambling from me, let's go straight over to the desk and have a look at what we've got. Now you might be able to see in the bottom corner there's only a very small amount of blue on the table. Don't worry, there is more. So let's head over. There we go. So in the previous couple of streams we've been working on some Night Lords infantry, and here you can see the nearly completed command squad, which is where we got up to last time. I was going to finish these before this stream, but I haven't had time due to work commitments and some new planning that's been going on in the background. So I'm going to finish these up today. There's only a few details left to do, so we'll probably need something else to fill our time. So with that in mind, I have gone ahead and prepped some land raiders for us to have a play with and see if we can paint up some of these boys while we're here as well. So we'll see how far we get. So let's crack on, shall we? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint that flag or banner, and what we're going to do is just going to get a base coat on it of Corax white, because we're going to apply a contrast over that. Well, probably a couple of contrasts actually. We're going to go for a fleshy banner because that's how the Night Lords roll. And we'll also use this white to do a few lightning bolt symbols mixed somewhere on that commander model. I'm not quite sure where yet because it's quite a busy model. And I'm trying to decide whether I want to do some lightning bolts on the veterans as well. Probably won't. We might go all out with these guys and do lightning bolts on all of them. I normally do one in every five models, so one on each stand or each base. But these guys are a command squad, so maybe they need that little bit more love. Maybe, we'll see. Probably will. Why not? But let's first whack on some white onto this banner. There's already a nice light coat on it already. Managed to miss most of it with the airbrush. I was base coating these the other day. Hopefully, I mean, you will be able to see a little bit of what I'm doing on camera, but I don't have the best camera in the world for this kind of detail work, sadly. This is where I need my my team members joining me to chat away while I paint stuff in barely visible camera work. Not a whole lot I can do about it at the moment, I don't think. not really sure how to resolve the issue, because the camera's pretty good, but one, these are very small models, which does not help, and two, it's being done via a sort of, I'm streaming into a stream almost to get my camera, this particular camera on the Twitch, which works rather well for the most part, but I'm not sure if it does downgrade the quality just that little bit more, which it probably does. But we've got to work within the confines of what we have access to, and this is what we have. This has got a lot more blue on it because I could not avoid it with the airbrush. I mean, I probably could have. In all honesty, I just didn't. Let's get that in there. So, the question is, what has been going on in Warhammer recently? So I haven't had the opportunity to really talk about a lot of news lately for Warhammers of any variety. Our conversations recently have been very Primarch and Night Lordsy focused, with Elsa's army and the guest starring that she's been doing, and it's more like a regular presenter now rather than a guest star, but she's not always available on Thursdays. That's where you get the bonus streams every now and then, because we endeavour to do a stream with our on stream every week, and if that means it can't be on a Thursday, it means in order to maintain some regularity, I will do streams on my Todd on the Thursdays, and when she's free during the week, we'll do the extra. If she happens to be available on Thursdays, though, fantastic. We won't get bonus streams those weeks. So there we are. Right, that's the first base coat done. I probably will have to whack a second one on just to get rid of any of those blue hints there. But let's put in a decent base coat on the band to start with. I'm just going to grab me teeny tiny brush now and do some lightning bolts. I'm just gonna test out and see whether I can drop this camera down. I don't really want to mess around with it too much at the moment. I don't have the control to focus it with this system. Let's just try and rejig it a little bit. I almost need this camera to come all the way down so that you can kind of see much clearer what's going on. Just moving stuff out of the way. My transfer tools, which are very nice, very handy. I can't remember if there's a boss there that's sort of holding it in place, which I think there is. And the hand comes through okay there. I like to paint with my wrists sort of leant on the bench a bit more, which does mean that I can't really have I don't want to paint up here. It's not the most comfortable in the world, but we'll give it a go. Right, so let's grab some more white. Now you're going to get to see my very poor attempt at freehanding. I'm not great at freehanding, that has to be said, but we're going to give it a go. You guys probably won't see a whole lot of it anyway, so you get to be spared that horror that is my poor freehanding. But you'll get to see it lovely and close up in some images on the social media. So you can see my terrible freehanding. There you go, a little lightning bolt on the leg. I normally do one on the shoulder as well. This guy's got part of it covered by a cape, but might be able to just sneak a little hint of a bolt in there. Yeah, that'll do. It's close enough. Nothing fancy with these lightning bolts. It's Legion scale models. We're not going hyper detailed or being too worried about making them all unique and different. They are normally just an upside down Y is what I tend to do, for the very reason that it only needs to be readable from a distance. So actually going to do these guys on the opposite legs to what I would normally do. I normally do them opposite, but just their posing doesn't really suit that. So we're going to do like this. So anyway, yes, I was going to go on to the topic of news, what's going on in the worlds of Warhammer, but I kind of got distracted, which is not unusual for me. I do like to ramble about random things, and I get distracted on tangents very easily. So, yes, news, Warhammer. Specifically, Legions news. We actually had a couple of Heresy Thursdays dedicated to Legions, which is nice. And that includes some new kits and units that are coming out very, very soon, which I have to say I am quite looking forward to. Certainly some new plastic Forge World Knights or Mechanicum Knights, which would be great fun little additions to my rather large knight household. Just for a little bit of variety and fun. So I'll probably look at picking some of those up at some point. I've got lots of other knight kits I want to get, including some ideas for some conversions I'd like to do as well. So I'm not sure when they'll be picked up, but I will get them eventually. I was really hoping to see some plastic armigers or Dominus kits. Really, the Mechanicum Knights are okay. You know, they're okay. They're cool. I like them, but they're not what I was hoping for the Legions Knights. Not yet, anyway. I mean, obviously having them is great, but they weren't what I was particularly waiting for. But I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. We'll take what we can get. Oh, I just realised this guy's got a Volkite pistol. I wonder if I can pick out that little thing there. And we'll put a little bit of orange contrast on that just to pick it out. Those extremely tiny coils. Awesome. Right, I think that is good enough. I can get another coat on the banner now. And that is almost all the details done, pretty much. It's mad how quick these get done. Yeah, so Mechanicum Knights, very cool. We like. But they've also just announced today, as of this recording, as of this live stream, the brand new Mechanicum tanks, which I have to say do look pretty cool, pretty snazzy. I like them a lot. Will I collect them? Probably not. I am already committed to 4 Legions armies, kind of 5, for my own personal use, which is Alpha Legion Space Marines, a Night Household, which I've already mentioned, a Solar Auxilia Force, and a force of Titans. So that's already quite a lot for me to run as it is, and much like in 40k, I'm not sure that even at Legion scale those Mechanicum kits are going to be that fun to paint, to be perfectly honest. I haven't looked at them too much, mainly because I just knew straight away that I wasn't really interested in having a 5th personal army, even though I've still got my Necrons, which I've put together, or started putting together. But that's more of an experimental fun thing, so that I've got a Legion Xenos faction to play with at some point, just to mix things up. Whereas I don't think the Mechanicum stuff is really going to give me anything there that I can't get from the other armies I play. So I'm probably not going to go down that route. But I can appreciate the models, and the models are gorgeous. And I would imagine our resident Mechanicus fan in John may look at picking them up at some point. I know he was definitely talking about it at some point, although now he's gone down the whole route of World Eaters and Demons. I'm not entirely sure whether that will happen or not. But there is a bit of crossover, because, you know, demon engines. So you never know. We might see it. We might not. Unless we get someone else involved who likes Mechanicum, which is entirely possible. Right. So we need to grab a little bit of orange. Just a teeny tiny bit. I do have an orange in here somewhere. I do have quite a collection of paints these days. Although I have to say, the orange is not coming in. Ah, there she is. We've got Griffhound Orange. Gonna need a good shake up though, because I don't use this very often. Yes, I have a very extensive collection of these paints now. Quite a lot of them are contrast. I've fallen in love with contrast over the last couple of years. Predominantly if we're doing 40k stuff. Ironically, I don't use a whole lot of contrast actually for my Legions armies. But that's probably because all over washes are actually quite efficient. Certainly very efficient on all the colour schemes I've made, because all my colour schemes I've decided on have been built with washes, all over washes in mind. With the only exception being my Alpha Legion. They're not an all over wash. Which makes them slightly more taxing to paint in some ways. But I don't actually invest a lot into the Alpha Legion. They're already at a reasonable level for where I want them to be. So I don't commit too much to them at the moment, although I will expand them in the future. In fact, I've got some stuff to expand with them actually. I've got a couple of 3D printed additions that I'm going to add, such as Headhunter kill teams, some Lernian Terminators, and the Primarchs themselves, Alpharis and Omegon. There we go, little Volkite glow on the Commander's little pistol. There we go. I tell you one thing I am hoping to see. And now that I've been doing a little bit more looking into the different units and stuff that we could see for Legions. One of my main armies being the Auxilia, and I've got quite a lot of Arvus Lighters and Dracosians now, lots of transports, and I like to theme theme my armies together, and I'm trying to decide, what units go where and how they get transported to the battle. And I like mechanized forces. I like air forces. The Alpha Legion are the sort of dedicated aerial assault corps, but I like to have an air force as part of my auxiliary as well. One thing I discovered is that the Velatari Storm section isn't the only Velatari that the Solo Auxiliary have. There are Velatari are just the elites, and they come with different loadouts, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do, because I watched an older video, and they were mentioned of Velatari with Volkite weapons and stuff like that. I think the Volkite was I think they said the Volkite was actually the standard issue weapon, which is quite interesting, because you don't see a lot of it in Legions, not a lot of Volkite, and a Volkite infantry force would be quite cool. And I was thinking having some Velatari missile troops in some Arvis Lighters would make a really cool aerial strike force. I'd quite like that. So that way all of my basic troops would probably rock the Dracosians, and then I'd have my Velatari sections as part of an aerial assault corps, which I think would be quite cool. That would how I'd theme them. That's what I'm thinking so far anyway. Right. Let's get some flesh on that banner. And by flesh, I mean a little ball of Gilliman flesh. Pull that white out of the way now, don't need that anymore. Alright. I'm just going to plaster this on the banner. This is a contrast that does need to be plastered on. You do have to work quite quickly, otherwise it starts to react a bit weirdly to being manipulated by the brush. As contrast I want to do. Hopefully, since I'm doing a solo stream as well, you might appreciate the little bit of background music, because I do sometimes get a bit distracted while painting. So hopefully that will help fill any accidental voids. Hopefully there's not too many of those, but it does happen. Especially when I start concentrating on these small infantry models. There we go. That's a nice fleshy banner. The contrast is getting to a point now where it doesn't like being touched, so there we go. Let that dry. And I'm thinking I might pop a little bit of purple on it, just to sort of get that sort of really dead fleshy look. And I'm just having a quick little look around, and I think this base is actually done at that point. Might put some detail on the banner now, because it's a flesh banner. I don't really want to sort of transfer on a Night Lord symbol. I don't think that would really work. So I need some kind of inspiration for what to put on the banner. I'm also a little bit hesitant to just type that into Google because I have no idea where that might lead. So we'll be a little bit careful what we type in there. But let's go on a little journey together. Why not? Let's go and check out some inspiration. Let's go. What if I just type in some Night Lords? Night Lords is one word, I think, isn't it? Or not? What? They do it as 2 words. So we've got some Night Lord heads. Mark 6 helmets. We've got some shoulder pads. There's some banners there. Well, transfers, but it looks like there's some banners there. So look at those. Okay. Wing motifs, obviously. Oh, there's a Reaper there. Oh, there's some transfer lightning bolts. That's quite cool. Didn't see those before. The Conticard Terminators. Very cool. I've got some little 3D printed Conticars for El's army, which I have test printed. I've got a couple of them off to the side here, which I'm trying to show you, but that camera's not on right now. Idiot. So yeah, I've got to paint some of those up at some point. I've got to print a few more off as well. I want to do a decent little set of bases for them. And Straumann Chain Glaze. Night Lord's Praetor. That's one of the books that Els has purchased but hasn't actually read yet. The Nemesis Claw Kill Team. I don't know why that book's coming up. Must be a reason. That was it. That's not much. Okay. Okay. Right. Let's Google it. Right. We want Night Lord's banner. Go to images. Surely someone's done a flesh banner. Of course they have. Of course it's a patchwork flesh banner. I don't really want to do a patchwork flesh banner. What's this one? Not really what I'm looking for. Unless I do just try and make some kind of pattern work in it. No, I'm not that good of a painter. I'm not going to. Temptation to try, but I don't think, one, it's not really worth it on such a small scale model. Unless I give it a really, really light purple wash over it and then try and use a deeper purple maybe to sort of imply cut marks into it so I can spell something out maybe. Or do I just get a little bit of blood for the blood god and do a little bloody banner? That could be interesting. I don't use blood for blood god very much on Legions models. I love it for 40k scale, but Legions, it's just a little bit. It can still work. It's just not quite as easy or rewarding most of the time. Okay, not finding anything there. Tell you what we will do though, while we're here, we'll have a quick look at some Night Lords Land Raiders, because I've got to paint some of those up in a minute. let's have a look. Let's see what kind of styles we've got. Kind of want, yeah, Horus Heresy. Land Raiders. Lots of stylized lightning bolts all over it. Guess what I'm not doing? I'm not doing that. My lightning bolts aren't that good. In fact, they're really not even close to that good. I want something that's going to read nice and easy. From the model. Now that's the right, what do they call it? Pattern of Land Raider. Is that Proteus Land Raider? I think. That is that you? Don't think that is a Legion scale one, although it is almost looks Legion scale. See, I'm wondering whether to do a couple of panels or something in red, because I like the way that's turned out with the Terminators. Oh yeah, see, look, there's a red panel there. Yeah, I think we might do a bit of red on it just to break it up. Also, I just noticed that this is awesome. Someone's actually done like the Chaos Star in lightning bolts. That's very cool. Very cool. People who commit to Night Lords, they really commit and do some gorgeous work. That's a Spartan, isn't it? Rather than a Land Raider. Maybe not. Can't really tell the difference, to be honest. I know a Spartan's just a big Land Raider, basically. These are pretty cool. So many lightning effects. Oh, actual bat wings on the Land Raider there. I like that. The Night Lords are very cool. Definitely one of the more macabre legions, but still very cool. See, look, they got the red shoulder pads, same as what I've done. That was Night Lords. They've got one on a different shoulder, but same as well. Here we go, look. Yeah, they picked out panels in red. I did wonder about picking out the doors in red. Okay. So yes, we're definitely going to pick some bits out in red. Cool, I'm happy with that. Right. Let's head back over to desk. Right. How's that little bit of chatting given that time to... it's almost there. I'm getting impatient now because I just want to get these guys done. So that I can say all the infantry are finally finished. Although I have a funny feeling I might have more infantry to paint at the weekend. Yeah, we may be popping over somewhere to pick up a few more models for Elle's army. She needs to get up to 3,000 points. And we're not quite there yet. Right, let's grab these little Land Raiders off here, because I don't need them on the tray now, for the time being. Also, one of the other benefits of putting your tanks on bases for Legions is it's really easy to put magnets in. And it makes travelling with them and messing around and getting them in, painting them easy, because you can just pop on these little metallic tins. I love tins. I ain't got very many of them. I need to find some more. I need someone to buy me a big tin of shortbread, so I've got some more tin space for all of my painting projects. Right, while we let that go, what should we do? Let's have a play with one of these Land Raiders and stick some red on it while we wait. I'm just having a look at these. Now Zenith will spray these, which just kind of gives them a sort of a natural what do you call it, transition. There's not many like distinct panels on this version of the Land Raider. There's like a tiny one in there, but you're never really going to see that. So yeah, I think our red element is probably just going to be the door, which is fine because also it'll be a darker red anyway, and these will get full washes as per usual. And then when I put the transfers on, the transfers are white, so it will still show up quite nicely. These Land Raiders are going to be pretty quick to paint, I think, because there's only a couple of little las cannon bits to paint, a couple of cables, a door, and a few metallic elements, and that's it really. So these are going to be quite quick and dirty to paint. Oh, I love a quick paint scheme. So, yeah, just going to pick out a few little bits in metals, I think. And, yeah. Tracks will be in black as well. I always do the tracks black. Don't know why. Just do. Okay. Let's grab a red. Let's grab a cheeky little bit of red. Paint some doors in. One thing I must do is write down the recipe for these Night Lords, because I'm sure I'll have to come back and paint more at some point. I've got into the habit now trying to write down the painting methods. Because there's so many armies, once I go back to them I forget how I did things. I'm dreading going back to any of my 40k armies, because I ain't got a clue how I painted most of them. So, let's get a little bit of red on here. Let's just slap it all on. I'm very quickly realising that this is going to be a two-coat job. That's fine. I do two coats of red on all of me my knights for my personal household, House Drakaran. Bonus points to anybody who gets the reference. No points lost if you don't, but you know. You might know where I got the idea from. I mean, already that's just picked out a little bit of extra colour, and I'm already loving it. Even though it's a naff, inconsistent red coat at the moment. Just that little bit of extra colour just makes it stand up that much more. So one thing I'll say about the Alpha Legion army I've got as well, it doesn't have that pop of colour, which really makes them a lot less interesting visually to look at. Which is why they're probably not my most used army anymore. Having said that though, I love my Solar Auxilia. I quite enjoy them, and I intentionally made them very dark and drab because they're supposed to be. Yeah, a couple of doors like that look quite cool. While I've got the red out, I'll do a couple more until I run out of red on the back to the infantry stand and do the purple. So I've got, what have I got left to do once I've painted all these guys up? I've got some Kratos tanks to do and some Sakarans to do after these land raiders. And then that will be the Night Lord's backlog finished, technically, although I know that's about to change. And doesn't account for the extra 3D printed parts I'm also going to do as well. But I haven't actually printed those yet, so do they count? I don't think they count. I haven't printed them. I've printed tests, they don't count. Tests do not count. That's the story I'm going with, and you know, it's my choice, so shut up. Okay, ran out of red. That's fine. Come back to that. Right, let's go and grab our nice purple. What have we got? Let's do Luxian purple, because Shaishan purple, or Shaish purple, is very dark. Way darker than I want for this. I'm actually not going to thin this, I don't think. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to apply it very, very thinly. I'll drag it all the way across, just so it tints it rather than covers it. Unless I totally mess this up, which is entirely possible. This. Grab me dudes. Also, I haven't been paying attention to where my hands have been on camera. I apologise if most of this has been off camera. I definitely need to look at my camera setup, which I'm pretty sure I've said in a previous stream as well. Okay, so that's very purple. Oh, that's very purple. Let's grab a bit of water on my brush so I can wash it down. I just put a bucket load of water on my brush. Just hinting at it without actually being too powerful in it, so let's just try and draw it off. That's a bit better. That's just hinting at it rather than applying the colour too much. Ah yes, that looks so much better. Even in failure, success can be found. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can try and show you that better, if it'll focus. Ooh, it's looking too shiny at the moment because of the water and the paint. But I promise you it will be on social media in the next day or two, so you'll be able to see it up close. But there you go, command squad done. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to bother going too mad with it. I kind of like it as it is. I could try and put some text and stuff on it, but I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, we're going to call that done. We got a fleshy manor. I like it. I'm going to pop that over one side. That is essentially all the inventory done. I mean, technically there is another 3 command bases to do. But you don't really take many command bases, so I'm not too concerned with that. Definitely will do the others. Just take the time with it. I've got a mini comrade curse to do at some point as well. 2 of the Contacar. And there's also the Night Raptors as well. I think that's what they're called, something like that. Some special jump troopers. The Night Lords. Yeah, I'm way off camera now. I can see what's going on now. I am definitely going to look at my camera setup for next time. Just naturally paint in certain ways, in certain places. I need to move the camera, don't I? Let's see if I can, without knocking over. Everything. No idea if this is going to be a good idea because you're now in a position. The camera is now in a position where I don't think I can see the models, as you can see right here. I wonder if I can offset it like that, and you get a slightly angled view. Will that work better? And I can see what's going on. Of course, I want to paint down here. Okay, right. Curse me and my strange painting habits. How's that? That seems to be a more comfortable position for me. And that shows up much better. Now the thing is, it shows up really crisp and clear on my camera, but on my OBS here, which I'm using to stream, it's showing up as quite grainy. But it does look a lot better. So hopefully that'll look better for you guys as well. Which, speaking of which, let's go grab my inventory stand. Let's see if that shows up any better. So on my camera here it's looking okay. So hopefully it's streaming okay. Yeah, see that's come up super clear on my camera in front of me. Hopefully it looks okay from your end. There we go. Oh. Right, so hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing a bit better now. I'm going to have a camera in my eye line, but not too bad. It's a little bit odd having it there. I might swap it to the other side. Nope, that might handle block it then, won't it? I'm still learning how all these things work, camera positioning and stuff. But it's quite fun. I enjoy the process. I'm not sure how else I would do this, to be honest. Because having you up on high, you don't really get a very good view of what's going on. Whereas at least this way, it's you can actually see what I'm doing a bit better. How do people, like the other painting YouTubers, manage this? I mean, I'm assuming most of them have a lot better cameras than ones I'm working with, so they can set them further back and not reduce quality. These doors look rough at the moment, but once I put that second coat on, they should look a lot better. I always try to avoid doing multiple coats of colours because it drives me mad. But the odd one here and there I can tolerate. Minimalist style of painting where I can. I don't know if minimalist is the right word for it, I normally just say lazy. And I'm not being derogatory in that statement. I'm quite happy to admit that I will cut corners where I can and get a job done simply and efficiently. Mainly because I can't afford to pay anyone to paint my army for me. Maybe one day I'll commission someone to paint some armies for me. I mean, hopefully one day the Mead Hall will in itself be able to afford an army painter, which would be quite nice. Or at the very least to commission some armies to get painted. Rate of the painting I'm going at the moment, I ain't going to need any more armies. My Legions armies are quite colossal already. It's very strange having this camera, this phone right in my eye line. Not sure how I feel about it. It's going to take some getting used to. That's for sure. Still not really centered, are we? Let's try moving across, see if that helps. Ah, the bots are back. I'm assuming that's a bot. If it's not a bot, you might as well leave because no one's falling for that. I'm certainly not. Bot or scam, I care not which. Go away. Also, I'm going to block you anyway. That's a good point. You get blocked. Bye bye. Doesn't remove it from the stream chat, annoyingly, but and I know there is a way, but I can't remember how. And I'm concentrating on painting tiny tanks right now. So, just a disclaimer for anybody who watches this in the future, don't follow that link. It's probably not a good idea. There we go. Getting that red on there. Doo -doo -doo -doo. This is almost phase 1 of red. We'll do phase 2. The re-reddening. There we go. Right. Back to the beginning. Right. Coat 2. Should be able to do this reasonably quickly, because I don't need to be quite as neat. And I already know where my lines are, so should be a bit quicker. First time you do it, you're obviously trying to make sure you pick it out and get to those lines. Whereas that second one, you can kind of just, it's easier to follow it once you've already got it down. There is definitely an element of where the brush and the paint just naturally flows and falls into. And it's hard to describe, but you can kind of just know that when you push your brush in a certain place or a certain direction, the paint will only hit the bits you want. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me or whether that's a known phenomenon, but it's like, yeah, just have a feel for it. There you go. which there will be silver. And then, to be honest, then it's probably wash time. Depending on whether I decide I'm going to dry brush these or not. I don't always. I haven't decided whether I want to dry brush these tanks or not. I do. Could give it a little cheeky metallic dry brush before the wash. With these tanks, once the wash goes on, these tanks will be done. I don't think I've got any sort of post-processing to do after the wash on these guys, so these ones will be quite quick and easy. Some of the vehicles, like ones with plasma effects on the Sakarans, will need a little bit of post-wash work, but Land Raiders will be actually done, really. In terms of painting, I will obviously do the transfers. But that'll all get done. More than likely off camera. I've got a bit of time tomorrow, I'll probably do finish these up and put the transfers on. I will get these, I will be determined to get these finished before this stream goes onto YouTube, so that they can actually be part of the thumbnail as a finished product. Yeah, so speaking of which, the next recorded hobby haul that will be going onto YouTube will be releasing tomorrow. So it's already uploaded, I just need to set the schedule. So I'll set that to upload tomorrow. Then the next one will follow probably on Saturday. There'll be a break on Sunday. And then hopefully from that one on, what will happen is all streams will be posted 1 week after they were live. So the next one would then be the Monday, because we had a bonus stream with Els on Monday, and then this one will release on Thursday next week, just prior to the next live stream. That will be next Thursday. And if I remember right, I think Els is free next Thursday, so I think we'll be joined by Els next Thursday, so there won't be a bonus stream next week. Well, there's not one planned. That's not necessarily to say it won't happen. It's whether if I do a solo one again, I could do solo bonus streams, but as we currently don't have much interaction in the chat at the moment for me to talk to, it's probably not all that interesting necessarily to listen to me monologue into the void. this application of red has gone much quicker. Scam message keeps catching my eye, and I keep thinking, oh, someone's sent it in the chat, and it's just that. Just running out on the palette as well. There we go. Right. That's that done. That's the red done. It is time to move on to some blacks now. Black Legion. So just the pretty much the gun casings of the las cannons and the tracks that are going to be done with the Black Legion. And hopefully this will be a nice quick one coat job done. There, which is what I like. Might opt for a bigger brush to do those because they're quite chunky. So we'll go for and do the las cannon parts with this first. We've got some sights on them as well. We'll block all that in. So there might be a little bit of post-wash work because there are some little lenses on these las cannons. Which will be done with some contrast. My favourite tool for lenses. Super bright silver and a contrast paint. About it, which also means we can probably upgrade to a bigger brush, do the tracks at the same time. Yeah, the bigger brush. Oh, hello. dear. Seriously, John, you've gone ahead and tried to paint another army again. Oh, I'm so glad it failed for you, and you've gone back to gone back to Crimson Fists. I think this brush is probably going to be better for this job. Well, since you've just appeared, oh hello, fluid-induced hallucination. Yeah, it's not though, is it? That's just you. You can't help yourself. You just have to paint something else. Need to stick to the task. Got an army to paint. I'm painting 6. You got no excuse. Oh yeah, that's a lot quicker, isn't it? Use the right brush for the job. Yeah, these aren't looking too bad. Decided on a little pop of colour. Just out of interest, actually, since you're there, my OBS is showing this as quite grainy. Does it come through better on stream? Because obviously the camera is coming through beautifully crisp, but on my end they don't look that crispy. Okay. Well, it's probably a lot better than just using a webcam. Oh, so you missed the early part of the stream where I was moving the camera around so that I could get a better picture. I'll just show you these little dudes that I've done as well. Little Night Lord's Command Squad with their fleshy banner. See if I can get it focused a bit there. And I did go a little bit all out, and I did actually put lightning bolts on every single one of them. I haven't done it on all the infantry, but on the command squad I did think I would go to the other putting lightning bolts on all of them. I do in fact have the transfers. They come with the Space Marine kits, the tank kits. Unless you've got other ones that I don't have. Okay. Maybe. Depends if they'd fit. Do you reckon they'd fit on that tiny little banner? got one small enough, then yes, please. We'd definitely deck it out in some transfers. I was going to attempt to freehand it, and then I decided I really didn't want to. Okay. How are the word bearers coming along, or is that a sore subject that I shouldn't bring up? I mean, need I remind you that it will get brought up in a few days' time. Also on camera. I bet you're looking forward to that. It'll probably make you... Oh, no, hang on. You technically have done some painting. I mean... Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I know you don't not paint. You just, you don't focus on anything. But, you know, hey ho, that is the whimsy of a hobby, I suppose. Well, you'll be happy to know that there is going to be shocker about that. There is going to be a slight change to the format for the podcasts. So the Tanker Talk will no longer be an individual grilling, so you can escape that, so to speak. It is just going to be a general talk about the whole team's progress, which means you'll probably get a little bit of a grilling, but you won't be singled out for the episode, so to speak. And we will be including some visual elements as well. Remember to actually I just have a crack. I need to remember to try and keep me painting in the centre of the camera. I have this habit of moving that camera all the time. Have you've seen a stunning Lorgar model? Like just generally Lorgar or Legions Lorgar? Yeah. You need to find yourself a Legions Lorgar, because we already have Primarchs over here. I haven't painted any of them up yet, but they will be hitting the desk at some point in the near future. No one wants to make Lorgar. I mean, I want someone to make Lorgar. Let's have a quick look what you sent me here. Ooh. 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 Oh, that is very nice. That is actually really nice. Damn. Yeah, I like it. I mean, Lorgar might not be the nicest person in terms of personality or lore, but as a character in fiction, great character, love him. Well, you would. You're famous on the channel for supporting Erebus. I'll just never forgive him for what he did to a certain favourite character of mine, which I won't spoil because technically it's a relatively new book, even though I've not read it and was spoiled myself. I should ask actually, John, have you oh, well, happy to be back. Fair enough. You might have to be. I mean, having said that, I mean, I think somehow I think I'm the closest to loyalist now between your word bearers and Elves Night Lords. My Alpha Legion allied armies, even though the Alpha Legion aren't the main force, they are very much interwoven into my other armies, of now make me the closest to the loyalist, which I'm not quite sure how that happens. Yeah, Legion. Yeah, I do have probably more chaosy stuff than everyone else. Potentially in 40k, I don't know. Maybe. Have you seen the new releases coming up for Legions, other than the Knights, which you obviously sent me? They've announced some more today. Yeah, more today. Check Warhammer community. Get on it. You won't be disappointed. I don't think you will be anyway, because I know it's a faction you were tempted by. I don't know if you're still going to go for it at some point. But I do quite like the look of the new models myself. Yeah, but I'd make tanks. And I have to say, I quite like the look of them. I think they look great. Yeah, they're really cool. I like them. I like the look of them. They look great. I definitely prefer Heresy era AdMech. I think they look much better. Actually, to be fair, I prefer most of the factions that are in Heresy as the Heresy versions. Like I prefer, I even prefer all the Heresy era Space Marines, and the Heresy era human auxilia before they become the Astra Militarum and stuff like that. I just generally prefer the Heresy era stuff. Like even the Chaos Space Marines in 40k. I feel like that should just be the Word Bearer's range. And then the others should all just go back to the Heresy era kits. because they're better. But the Chaos Space Marines for 40k fit Word Bearers really well. Yeah, I still think though Black Legion would still be better as like Heresy era Marines, because Abaddon himself isn't a big fan of demons anyway, and he does use them, but he's not a massive fan of them. And the whole thing is they are the veterans of the Long War. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're all demon. I would just prefer that they kept that bad aesthetic. But I also think that would have been a much better way of keeping the Firstborn style units in the game. Just use the Heresy kits, but we've had that discussion before. Yeah, I tend to agree. Word bearers probably should be the main arch villains. I've become a bit of a fan of Be'lakor now. Be'lakor's been interesting me quite a lot. Then again, I feel that's probably pretty obvious considering I've recently discovered that Be'lakor is essentially the Alpha Legion of demons. So it probably makes sense that I like them. Wait, that'd be easy. Just make World Eaters go back to white. Be'lakor is like he's a very manipulative demon prince he tends to use a lot more underhanded tactics and using and he's much more pragmatic than a lot of other demons. He's quite fond of using mortals and demons and space marines and all that lot interchangeably, very much like the Alpha Legion. And he does have this whole sort of like hidden subterfuge element to the way he likes to operate, which makes him sort of emulate to a certain degree sort of the Alpha Legion. Obviously not entirely, but it's not a one-to-one comparison. You also can't tell me that white World Eaters aren't cooler than red World Eaters, because they are. If nothing else, the amount of cool blood effects you can do on white armor compared to red. And if there's any Chaos Legion that should be using a lot of blood for the Blood God, it's the World Eaters. Heresy just had it right. Imagine that new Angron model in white armour. Someone must have done it. I want to know if someone's done it. Someone must have done it. Oh no, my paints are drying up. My wet palette's not wet. The Demon Angron is what I'm talking about. I wonder if someone's done a Demon Angron with white armour. Oh wait, hang on. You're probably saying which one, as in which version of the Demon one. I mean, either. Although I'm pretty sure the Transfigured one hasn't actually released yet, so you know. Yeah, see, caught you before that came through. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Transfigured one isn't out yet though. Depends if the Angron one is out yet or not, because otherwise it might be Fulgrim who gets all the models first, considering he already has 2 models out and this third is very soon on the way. No idea. The only artwork I've ever seen him in, he doesn't really wear like traditional Astarte style armour at all. It's more leather, or looks more leathery anyway, from what I've seen and what my vague memory is bringing up of Angron. I'm not sure that he ever actually wore Astarte's armour. Definitely should have checked that my wet palette was actually wet. That paint has died a death there. Not too fast because this actual sheet needs changing anyway. But it's probably bronze rather than gold. I can't see Angron wearing gold. Whereas bronze feels more sort of Greco-Roman, which kind of ties into his whole Spartacus style backstory. So I'd imagine it's probably bronze. I'm off camera again. best black paint that Games Workshop's ever made. I do have a pot of a bad and black. It kind of just languishes in obscurity. Sometimes I use it to paint some base rims on some 28mm models just because I need to use it up. That's pretty much the only use it ever gets. I can do. I'm assuming you're going to want the full process then, rather than just what's been on stream, because obviously there was some airbrushing that was done prior to stream. So you don't need paint names. Okay. I mean, I can do paint names. It's not a problem. So pretty much just my instant thought would be probably because I very quickly found, having now painted quite so many Legions models, that it's not hard to overcomplicate these things. Right, so prime it in black. Simple, done. I prime everything in black these days. Whatever black you want, I airbrush it. Simple as that. Then with these, what I did is I zenithalled the entire model with lead belcher through the airbrush to get the undertone. So you can see, you might be able to see here that there's still a bit of black here. It just creates a nice simple transition that's virtually invisible from a distance anyway, but it does kind of give you like a natural transition. Yep, so you spray it all in lead belcher, zenithalled. Then what I did is I do the base colour, which in this case was contrast again. It's dark blue, Celestian blue to be specific. Fired that through the airbrush, mostly zenithalled, but I flipped the model around a little bit more because it doesn't matter if it catches the black, because then it's just a very, very, very dark blue. So I don't really care about that. So yeah, so pretty much, I mean, that's pretty much where it's at that point. I also discovered that you can get a little bit of the contrasting effect through an airbrush. Now you can't get, it's not as perfect as if you were brush painting it, obviously, but you can kind of get it if you spray through the airbrush a little bit closer to the model and let the paint build up just a little bit. It's hard to describe. You kind of get a feel for it, and you still basically retain a bit of those contrast properties where it starts to sort of pull away from the surface and pull a little bit in the edges or in the recesses. So you still get that sort of washing kind of effect. which you might be hard to see on camera, but it does work. It's a bit weird. I kind of just did it by accident one day and realised that actually there is a way of using it through the airbrush that still retains some of the effect. So yeah, that's how that works. So, and on stream, I hadn't actually decided how I was going to paint these, so I then decided, right, well, I got to that point and I thought, right, cool. First thing I need to do then is think of a spot colour, which obviously for the Night Lords is already pre-described. For me, it's going to be the reds, and it's just a case basically when painting Legions models is don't overcomplicate things like you're kind of suggesting there, and just pick a feature or an element on the model that will stand out nicely in the spot colour. Sometimes I pick out a couple of areas, but I took one look at these things and just thought, right, well, the only clear, easy to reach area that I could paint red is going to be the big door. So I just pick the door, done, paint it, done. There's a couple of little elements on here, like there's this sort of little patch here underneath the guns, but it's hidden by the guns and it's hard to get to, so I'm not going to paint it, can't bother. You know, these little bits back here maybe. I could try and paint inside this little area here. It's not worth it. It ain't gonna work. So yeah, it's very much just picking out the bits that are going to be easy to paint and will stand out well. So yeah, that's how I did the red. Nice and simple, nice and understated, but it makes a huge difference just painting that little bit of red there. Once I've done with these, all I'm going to do is go around and do the exact same thing with metallics. So I can tell you now what I'm going to paint metal. And it's going to be very simple. I'm going to paint the little barrels in between the las cannon, just to add a little bit of visual variety. Nothing else on this side of the vehicle is going to be painted metal. That's it. Going to the front, I shall paint this little thing here in metal because it's a prominent piece, it stands out. And then what I'll probably do is that side's going to be obviously the same as that side. I'm going to look at the top. There's two little circular nodules here. They look easy enough to paint. I'm going to paint them in silver because it's just a little detail that's easy to paint. These grills here, I'll probably paint silver as well. Relatively easy to get to. And then the top of these exhausts as well, I'll paint in silver. That is it. That's all I'm going to do. Literally all I'm going to do. Then this thing is going to get a full wash in Nuln Oil, because I don't care what anyone says, the new Nuln Oil is great. It's going to slightly tint everything, but also bring those recesses right out. And then the last thing that will happen on here is these cables here. I'll pick out in a colour, probably green. I've been doing cables green on the infantry, so I'll probably just do a little green cable here and here. And I'll do a little lens effect because there's like a teeny tiny little lens on the turrets there, and that's it. These models will be done. These won't take long at all. Yeah, it's easy to do. You'll have to come on when I next do my knights, and I'll show you how to do how I do the really like heavy metallic army really quickly, because again, you'll probably be surprised how little of it I actually paint by hand. I spend very little time on it. Most of it's done with the airbrush. So yeah, just don't overdo it really, you don't need to. Be surprised how ironically and almost fittingly, less is more. Speaking of which, actually, I'll show you. I'll show you something where less was less wasn't really on the cards. These Terminators that I did, these became quite detailed in the end. Hopefully that's coming through okay. They took a little bit longer than the rest of the infantry, because there is a few more details on them than I was expecting, and a few more colours. But considering they're special units, so to speak, I don't mind spending a little bit of extra time on them. So yeah, these Terminators, they really stand out. They look really cool. I'm quite happy with them. Line tanks and stuff like that, just pick some details out and call it done. And I also, it's also another thing as well is the order in which you paint things as well is quite important to getting things done quickly. Which is quite important in figuring out when you're designing your paint scheme, really. So obviously I'm making sure that I do all the blacks before I do the silvers, because I know silvers quite often go over blacks in my paint schemes. Everything that I want, I generally try to design my paint scheme to accommodate an all-over wash, because I can't be bothered to target wash certain areas on the model. So I tend to pick colours that are slightly brighter than I want, because I know I'm going to whack null all over the entire thing. So I basically want to paint everything that's going to have a wash on it at the same time, and then obviously do the wash in one hit. Off camera again. Yeah, I much prefer it. Although my solo auxiliary actually get 2 all-over washes. It's probably a little bit overkill. I could probably get away without doing the 2, but it's kind of just part of the system now, and it doesn't really cost me any time, so I don't mind doing it. Also, I don't know whether you'll be like me in the sense of what I was like, and I found this is really helpful for painting as well. And you've seen me do this already on stream, because I think it happened just as you arrived. Is I was always in the habit of constantly just trying never to change the brush in my hand. Once I picked a brush, I would try and use that brush for as many jobs as possible, and not try and change the brush I'm using. I don't know why, and I don't know whether that's just a me thing or whether other people do it as well. So, you know, I just, for some reason, don't want to change brush, or didn't want to. But now, I'm always looking for an opportunity to switch the brush I'm using. Normally, because I'm trying to look to go up a brush size so that I can paint details quicker. So just as you were coming on, I've been using this brush, which I use for 90% of painting Legions models. But as soon as I saw these big tracks and realised that I could just slap black all over those las guns, I immediately went and grabbed this brush because it's so much faster. So much faster to paint with the right brush. So if you're like me in that regard, that's another way of speeding up your painting, is just get over this idea that you can't change brush. Constantly change. Use whatever brush or tool is going to get the job done the fastest. So, hang on, give me a sec, let me just finish off this bit. There we go. That's all the black done. So, these two brushes are my go-to brushes for most of my Legions painting. This is 4/0. I don't know what that's supposed to be, and that's a 3/0. So yeah, those two are the ones that I use the most. And then this one is just a flat one. That says spot on it. I don't know if that's important. That one doesn't have anything on it. Yeah, this is one of the I think this is the smallest flat brush in that set. But this is really good. This one I love for a lot of things. Big flat panels on vehicles. It's a great brush. To be fair, actually, I didn't do this earlier. Could I have used this? I should have used this brush for the reds, actually. That would have been a lot quicker as well. So that was a case of me just not thinking about changing brush. I should have used that brush. That would have been quicker. Right, so that's black done. Time to get some metal done. I probably will be wrapping up the stream soonish, but what I will do is I will quickly chuck some silvers on, since we've been discussing the painting method. Because once the metals are on, that is, as I say, pretty much most of these models done. So you'll get a rough idea of what the end result's going to look like. That's way too much. There. The only problem with the droppers, sometimes a bit of air builds up and they just spew paint. A proposal of a game at some point. Fourth edition? That's the edition I started. Well, that's the edition I started playing in. 4th edition. Those were the days. 4th edition. What particularly draws you to 4th edition? Quick, water. That is how you fix a paint mistake. Just chuck a shitload of water on it and brush it off. Top tip. Don't know if you know that one. The other thing I'm going to do here as well is, as you can see, I've not painted the barrel of the second las cannon down there. I've painted it on that side but not on the inside. One, because my brush ain't going to get in there very easy. And 2, I Zenithal painted that, it's already black, so I don't care. I'm not going to try and get into areas that are really hard to get into. I ain't stressing about doing details that no one's ever going to see or notice. So that's all the metallic I'm doing on that side. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd be quite happy to play 4th edition. The only slight issue of obviously going back to older editions is certain units don't exist, like some of the newer stuff. Obviously, that can be resolved in some ways. Alright, I'm going to quickly switch to this brush. Going to use my own advice here, because that's going to be a lot quicker with a nice big flat brush. Just getting between those spokes. Just get it in there. Do I paint that bit? Let's do that as well. That looks a bit different. I hadn't planned on doing that, but I just, on a whim, I've decided that that might look a bit more interesting in metals. And because it's nice and close to where I'm already painting, and I don't mind doing it. There we go. That's them done. Don't need that brush now. Actually, probably should have kept that going actually, because I'll probably keep this big brush out and paint the exhaust on this. I quite like these flat brushes. Well, they're not useful for everything, but when you can use them, they are very handy. Now I've just noticed these little pipes down here. I might just paint those in as well. I'm not going to worry too much about painting the entire thing, because again it's underneath and it's painted black, but if I just glide the metallic over the most visible part there, that's all. Just let the black do the rest of it. Oh yeah, we could definitely write rules for anything that's missing. That's not a problem. So I'm just going to pick out those little circular nodules, which you may not be able to see on there. brushes again. Just paint those in there just to add a little bit of visual detail. And that's it really. That's all the metallics done. I'll tell you what I could do as well, because it will probably won't hurt to be done before the wash as well. Let's just grab a green. Bit of warpstone maybe. Did I use warpstone? No, I didn't. I used warboss green. Trying to remember all the. I need to write down the colours I've used. Let's just quickly do some cables. These will all get hit by the wash as well. I normally do cables in red, but I already use red for spot colours on the armour, so I'm not going to do that. My normal other alternative is blue, which is what I've done on my Dracaran Knights, but again, blue's already a main colour in this scheme, so I have to go with the green. Could have done yellow, I suppose, but for some reason I picked green out. And there we are. That is pretty much it. Yeah, so pretty much what is going to happen here is that's going to get a wash, and yeah, then I'm just going to add a lens effect on the lascars. They've got tiny little lenses on them. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much done. I think, apart from doing the transfers on the doors, that is a Land Raider done. I could dry brush it. I might dry brush it. I might do a little cheeky silver dry brush over this. Possibly. Can't decide. I'm still on the fence. We'll see. But that's pretty much done. Yes, you can ask something. That sounds ominous. If you're going to ask me to sing on live, then no is the answer. Because I'm not a singer, just to clarify. Yes, I will do that as soon as I end the stream. I will send those across. Well, I'll put them on there in the Teams files. Yeah. Good idea to remind me while I'm actually here. Yes, I could do that for you, no problem. Right, so there we go. Land Raider, pretty much done. Possibly with a dry brush to go, but yeah, it's mostly done. And you know, that's just about 2 hours, and There was a bit of faffing around and also finishing off painting an infantry stand in there as well. So yeah, I can almost paint 6 Land Raiders in about 2 hours. I reckon an extra half hour I'd have had all these done, not including drying times for a wash. Yeah, these don't take long at all. I love Legions. It's so quick to paint. So it's all good. It's all fun. One thing I've got to ask you, John, as well. What do you think of my nice new streaming setup? Got the music in the background. Got me new animated chat window. Slightly different setup and layout. It's all changed. You haven't even seen my browser window. That, by the way, if anyone's interested in, is the Lorgar model that John said in chat. So yeah, it's all coming together quite nicely. So yeah. Right, well, thank you very much, John, for popping in and saying hi. Thank you to anybody who is going to be watching in the future. Just to reiterate that there is going to be some previous episodes going up onto YouTube over the next couple of days, and then going forward, episodes will be coming out a week following their initial stream. Mostly. There will be occasions where I might forget because of work and stuff, which is what happened last week, hence why there's a little backlog. So there'll be one releasing tomorrow, another one on Saturday, and then next week it should follow on from when the 2 from this week were streamed. So it's all going to plan very slowly, but it's getting there. And a new podcast will be coming out very, very soon. So that is it from me here at Mead Gaming's Hobby Hall. I have been your host, Jay. I have been joined in the chat by my lovely team member, John. And thank you all very much. Please do go ahead and check us out on social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Please do go and see our YouTube channel. There is lots of new stuff in the works and new stuff coming very, very, very soon. Some of which you've already seen being done. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me. So thank you one last time. Don't forget to share with your friends and your local hobby communities. Until then, though, I will see you next time in the... this is the problem with doing live. When you mess up, it's on camera forever. Anyway, thank you very much. Until next time, I will see you in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.